Hi guys, welcome to the garden. We have two pear trees growing in our garden. This one to the right of me as an espalier and this one to the left of me as a delayed open centre. Despite both of these pears being grown on the exact same rootstock of a quince A and being planted exactly same time of year just over 3 years ago, I did notice something rather strange in terms of their growing habits, which became even more apparent this year. If we look at the most recent apical growth, you'll see that this espalier pear tree has over 45 centimetres on all three of its branches, whereas this tree has only had a measly 20 centimetres at its highest growing point. And I believe the main reason behind these varying levels of growth rates is all to do with the amount of mulch. So this tree to the right of me has actually been integrated into one of our beds. And as a result, accidentally, I ended up essentially giving it twice the area of coverage and also a little bit more depth when it came to mulching with these oak wood chips, compared to this tree, which has a much smaller overall area of coverage and a much shallower depth of application when it came to those chips. So the purpose of this video really is to mulch this tree so that it can have the same rate of growth as my other tree over there. And I'm going to go along, show you the process and discuss why I believe you should also mulch your fruit trees in order to maximize its growth. So when it comes to mulching your fruit trees, there are three main things that I would suggest using. The first one is going to be some form of cardboard, just like so. And if you can find some like this that doesn't have any inks or dyes that will leach into the soil, that's a bonus. The second thing is going to be some compost. We've got a little bit left of our homemade compost, but then I've got some general multi-purpose compost as a backup too. And then lastly, which is the most important one probably of the lot, some nice wood chippings. So the first thing I'm going to do, just so I've got a bit of a clean slate, is actually take away some of these wood chips. So the first thing that I'm going to be applying is our cardboard. And to get a nice pretty circle, because I want it to be aesthetically pleasing still, I'm going to use a compass, or a garden version of a compass at least. So by shoving this down, I've got a 40 centimetre radius here, which, oh look at that, will give me a lovely circle, like so. And then again, a garden pair of scissors or a knife. Looks pretty circular to me. So now that we've got our cardboard sorted with a few additional drainage holes, as you can see here, which just leads into the existing mulch layer, and a further hole there for our tree stake, this should, if my measurements have added up, slide over quite nicely. We shall see. Okay. Tell you what, I'm pretty happy with that. So the next thing we're going to add is our compost, and I'm going to lead with my homemade compost just because I know how many compost worms are in here, and that's going to really help break down not only this cardboard but also start drawing out some of the nutrients from our wood chip as well. So when adding this compost, oh my, you can see how many worms in there. Just check that out. Sorry, it looks so cool. So when adding this compost, you want about an inch layer. So I'm going to need a little bit, I think more of this as well, which isn't as good or anywhere near as rich as the homemade stuff. So another thing you'll notice when I apply this compost or any layer of this mulch is that I'm doing it in a donut shape and purposefully leaving about a 6-inch diameter area surrounding the trunk of the tree. And the reason for that is I don't want any mulch actually touching the bark, because what that could do is it could lead to too much moisture touching the bark and cause it to rot. Or if you're unlucky like me and the graft union of your tree is actually quite low, that wasn't my fault, it was just how it came from the nursery, then it may actually cause the top of the tree to start setting root. And then for a tree that's quite close to my house, I don't want it growing, well, 2-3 times higher than it should be on this quince A rootstock. So make sure you leave a gap, avoid that. It's called a mulching volcano, and it should make sure your tree has the best chance of surviving. And when you've got your compost layer down, it should look something like this. Nice little gap, and about an inch depth, all the way up to the end of the cardboard. So onto our final layer. And for me, that's going to be some lovely natural oak wood chips donated by my grandma. So when it comes to adding this layer, I'll give you a little bit more scientific breakdown of why mulching your fruit trees actually helps them. So there are 4 main reasons you want to mulch your fruit trees. So the first one is that it will help with something called temperature regulation of the soil. So by adding a protective cover, not only are you going to insulate the roots in the coming winter, but when it comes to summer, it's also going to reduce the amount of evaporation from the surface of the soil. And I know I live in England, but even this last summer, we've had quite a few dry spells and a few mini heat waves. So by adding this mulch layer, it's going to protect the top layer of the soil, which is actually the second reason you want to mulch, which is conserving water. So in terms of the third reason, by mulching a larger distance around the fruit tree, what this is going to do is it's going to suppress any grasses, any weeds from competing with the top layer of roots of this fruit tree, meaning it's going to have more access to water, more access to nutrients, and hopefully it'll improve this tree's growth. And then lastly, this wood chip, when it does inevitably break down, some of this actually already started breaking down already, is going to enrich that soil even further. So a lot of people say when they apply a mulch, what we're trying to emulate really is a forest floor. So by adding these wood chips, it's emulating the natural breakdown that would happen, let's say if a tree falls over or a branch comes off. And so all of this nutrients locked in the wood chips is going to be released and absorbed by the plant. So I'm just going to go around the other side and finish this up. And there we go, all done. A nice 2-3 inch layer of mulch. The last thing that we need to do is to give this a nice watering in. So hopefully with those mulch improvements I've just made, it will increase the growth rate of this tree, and in a good time too, because I've noticed a lot of fruiting buds on this tree. So fingers crossed, we'll have our first harvest when it comes to this Diorne de Commis pear as well, which I look forward to tucking into also.